beautiful rising, beautiful people. So let's just run back 2019 for a second, man. Everything that I've learned this year. I heard that a lot of people had a rough year this year. I hear a lot of people saying that like 2019 was hard. Definitely was some highs, definitely was some lows, but everything is all good to me, because I think a lot of the times we put so much focus on our misfortunes, we don't realize the high road that it plays in our growth, and that it can be turned into something fortunate for us, that it is something fortunate for us. So what I learned this year was not make decisions with my ego in the driver's seat. I've learned that everything works out in your favor, even if it doesn't feel favorable or it's not your favorite part of the process. It'll always work out in your favor. So stay controlling how you respond to this thing called life, and you would definitely end up on the better end of the stick. I have learned that you cannot help everybody. Actually, you can help everybody, just not the same way. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you walking away from people is the help that they need. And a lot of the times we think staying in a situation with somebody, we're doing them a favor, and more than likely we're giving them permission for their bullshit and we're enabling them. So learn how to help people differently. I'm going to say it that way, because everything will be helpful. You just got to learn who you're fucking with. Y'all know I'm very big on forgiveness. So forgiveness does not mean keep people around. I'm going to state this again. Sometimes keeping them around is more hurtful than it is helpful for them and for you. So in most cases, you just have to save yourself, and in turn, that'll be saving them as well. Another thing, I have identified some traits in me that I have mislabeled at one point in time. I've been encountering a lot of narcissistic women since I moved to LA. And let's be clear on that, because I know how people like to misconstrue whatever the word is, what I be saying. For the most part, it's not women that's born and raised in LA. It's mostly like the transplants that I've encountered since I've been here that has been narcissistic women. So it made me dig into myself, dig more into what that meant. Like, what does that look like? Because I never thought to label anybody a narcissist or to even label myself a narcissist. Until a young lady asked me on my live for some advice, because that's what she was dealing with. And I was like, nobody ever asked me that. I never heard anybody call anybody a narcissist. Well, not that, it like sat with me or anything, so I didn't remember. I started digging more into that and realized that I've been dealing with that shit the entire time, but you give people excuses, you allow people to kind of break your spirit and think it's you, and that you're just not being fair and understanding. The truth is, a lot of people are just not ready to change, and there's nothing you can do about that. So it helped me identify, because it's different types of narcissists, and I've felt like I've modeled some of the covert narcissist traits. So I discovered that, like, even if I wasn't a covert narcissist, I still displayed some of their traits at one point in my life. Like, even but this year, even if you look at my show Figuring It Out on Vimeo, you can see it's like kind of a blame game of why I'm not at a certain place in my career and in my life. It was kind of like blaming everything outside of myself. And it was nothing in particular that made me pull back and say, you know what, you're in control of your life. I just kind of owned that shit out of nowhere. And I'm like, you can't blame other people when you are in full control of your life. You can't blame other people, even if I made valid points. doing, it's like toward the end of figuring it out. Like, even if I made valid points, you know, I do think we should come together more to support, instead of like, because we quick to come together to shame one another but not to support one another. That is ass backwards, but it's still like the way I delivered it, the way it came across was like I had to be inclusive in that. Like, I had to be included in that, who you support, and that's just not true. So it was kind of like this attitude, like, shit, well, I'm constantly trying to show up for people that's not showing up for me. But fuck that shit. You show up because that just was in your heart. You know what I mean? Like, can't blame the world for your shit, because how you respond to it is totally up to you, especially when you're an adult. So I noticed that, and I was like, fuck. And I also noticed that I possess all 5 traits that attract narcissistic people. And to tighten up on those areas, because once again, it's a difference between hurting people by staying and helping people by leaving. Like, you can still help people by just bouncing. So I had to tighten up on those 5 traits, trace my patterns, and where I got the shit from. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I was lacking during my childhood that made me display that as some part of my life. I didn't always do that. It was just like in that part of my life, and I'm like, fuck that shit. I pulled out from that without noticing that that's what that was, but it still helped me, like, okay. Either way, it's been lying dormant in you, you know what I'm saying? And I also learned to stop saying, well, I was acting out of character, and take more ownership and say, well, shit, I met a new character I never met before, like, that was in me. Because, you know, people can't bring something out of you that's not there. That's like trying to borrow $1 million from the bank and knowing you motherfucker got $35 in that bitch. Like, loaning somebody $1 million knowing you only got $35 in your account. Like, you can't give away something you don't have. Some things just rattle those cages and awaken those things that have been lying dormant in you. So 2020 is going to be an amazing year, man. Amazing. I'm claiming it. The highs and the lows, everything is just working out in my favor. It's going to work out in your favor. And I just want to throw that out there, man. In the comments, tell me, what have you discovered about yourself? Yeah, have a beautiful day this year. Let's go.